Saturday, 19th April 2020, Honorable Francis Zake, the Member of Parliament for Mityana Municipality and also the head of the People Power Youth Wing, was brutally arrested from his home in Mityana by security operatives, both in uniform and plain clothes. His crime apparently was giving food to the starving constituents in Mityana Municipality. He was taken to Mityana Police Station, later taken to CMI, and finally detained at SIU in Chireka. Honorable Zake has asserted that he was brutally tortured at each of those detention facilities. His eyes were sprayed by a substance that has left him unable to see for the past days. It was one Honorable Mwiru who was allowed to visit him at SIU in Chireka, who insisted that he must be taken to hospital because he was in a very worrying state. He was eventually taken to the Iran-Uganda hospital in Naguru, but still under detention, since the hospital is under siege and visitors are not allowed to see him. I personally attempted to visit the Honorable Francis Zake twice, but I was blocked by police. His wife was given access to nurse him, but all her phones were taken away from her, since the security operatives suspect that she could take pictures of him in the state that he is, which will expose the proof of torture. Honorable Zake continues to be detained illegally 8 days after his arrest and brutal treatment at the hands of those who are supposed to be protecting his life. We insist that Honorable Zake committed no offense. We therefore demand his unconditional release so that he can access a proper health care facility of his choice without any control or restriction or any interference by the security operatives. We also demand that the government takes action against the NRM leaders who have, in a manner so wanton, broken the regulations against the social distancing rules in their quest to give out food to the people. Honorable Haruna Kasolo of Chotera County, the State Minister and the State Minister for Microfinance, recently had a very huge crowd at his home while he was giving out food. The same happened when Honorable Hanifa Kawoya in Sembabule was giving out food at her home. And yes, we saw the same with the Honorable Seninde, the State Minister for Primary Education. It is unbecoming for the state to persecute the Honorable Zake, who followed the guideline, yet nothing has been said about the NRM leaders who are in blatant violation of the guidelines. So we assert that no one should be above reproach, and we also demand that persecution against particularly the opposition leaders should stop, and the state should stop using the COVID-19 pandemic to crack down on dissent. We thank you, and we hope the entire country is standing with the Honorable Zake and Ugandans that are being persecuted in this dangerous time. We thank you.
To visit Honorable Zake on the 20th of April 2020 at SIU Chireka, where he had been incarcerated and they had denied access to him by any person unless you had the permission of the director Saidi. I persisted, and actually upon Zake being produced in the office of the commandant SIU, actually he was very frail and in very devastating health condition. We had an engagement with the office of the IGP. He was actually referred to Iran-Uganda hospital in Naguru, but I think, to cut the whole story short, before me now I have a referral report by the hospital to the effect that Honorable Zake has failed to respond to the treatment which has been put on, and they are referring him to Nsambia Hospital. But they describe the state in which they received him, where they say that he was received in severe pain since Saturday the 19th of April 2020 after being arrested at home. Reports show that he was handcuffed, tied with ropes, both on the hands and the legs. He has bruises in the face, in the chest, and actually he feels a lot of pain. But the most important now, why he's being even referred, that actually after being, they said the diagnosis, blunt force trauma and chemical conjunctivity, the result of chemicals in his face, to the extent that he can no longer, he lost his sight, he cannot see. So they believe that they don't have those specialized services at the Iran-Uganda hospital, and they need him to see an ophthalmologist to review his condition and establish why he has failed to regain his sight. So I thought it is important, and that is a report which has been issued by the Iran-Uganda hospital, referring Honorable Zake to Nsambi hospital because they have failed to, the treatment they have been giving him, he has not actually responded to it. So we thought it is important that we brief the country about the state of Honorable Zake after being tortured. The final state is that actually all the 3 doctors who examined him agreed that he was tortured. That is the police doctor, the Iran doctor, and Dr. Sechitoreko, Honorable Zake's doctor. Thank you so much.
As we are struggling to secure the health of the Honorable Francis Zake, we are also concerned about his legal rights. To this regard, we have moved to secure his unconditional release. And as we speak now, there is an application that has been filed before Nakawa Court. The Honorable Mwiru is one of the people who is swearing an affidavit, because according to the Police Act, if anybody is detained more than 48 hours, you can apply to a magistrate to have them released unconditionally. And the Honorable Francis Zake has actually been in detention beyond the 48 hours. So we are moving under the law to have him released unconditionally. Number 2, we are also taking note, because Honorable Francis Zake is speaking with difficulty, is having some challenges. When he fully recovers, we want to interact with him and try to understand whether he is in position to identify those who tortured him, so that we move on them individually. This idea of continuing to torture people and you think you will go away with it is something we are not going to tolerate. Finally, on the issue of distribution of food, I want to emphasize, and I did mention this in Parliament, there is no law in Uganda that stops anybody from distributing food. It is not there. People are confusing presidential directives to be law. I did challenge the Attorney General the other day in Parliament to show us under the statutory instrument whether there is a provision saying don't distribute food. So until that aspect is included in the statutory instrument, you commit no offense if you decide to distribute food per se. So we also want to call upon government to really understand that it's not enough for people to make pronouncements in State House or elsewhere, but those pronouncements must be translated into law, and that is when you can hold people accountable. I thank you.
My heart is bleeding. The situation in which human beings have been degenerated, the hunger, the desperation, young men traveling on foot to West Nile. 6 of them. People gathered, they eat raw mangoes with salt for lunch and for supper. Raw maize. It has taken the face of women and young girls. Trailer drivers, every stage, sleeping, defiling, raping very desperate young women because of the desperation of the way we have handled the COVID-19 response, which has totally excluded the face of human beings. I am very sad. We totally condemn the brutality meted on Honorable Zake simply because he wanted to be a pencil in the hands of God that he believed in, to give food, to redeem the people from their desperation at least for that 1 minute, in the strongest terms. I want to add my voice to my principal and my colleagues, honorable members of parliament, and also my land friends. And I call on all Ugandans, we must reclaim our humanity and dignity in whatever situation we find ourselves. Whether it is COVID response or what, but there must be humanity and human dignity at the center of all response. And consultations must be done, because we say nothing about us without us, whether it is COVID response or what.